While the world watched Xi Jinping stage a rare display of China's growing influence position in the Shanghai Cooperation Organization as an alternative framework for global relations, especially among developing nations at China's largest military parade. Donald Trump sat in the White House awaiting acknowledgement from Beijing. Would Xi extend a gesture that reflected decades of complex U.S. and China ties? Or would Washington be met with silence, signaling a deliberate shut out? These dynamics and what they mean for the balance of power will be explored in today's Flash News. Good afternoon and welcome. I am Fabita Arko. Let's begin. Could foreign troop deployment in post-war Ukraine trigger an escalation beyond Ukraine's borders, risking a broader NATO-Russia clash? A critical question. As we delve into the news, let's take a listen.
We have an open dialogue with President Trump, and there is an agreement that if necessary, we can call each other, get in touch, talk. He knows that I am open to this conversation, and so does he. I know about this, but so far, according to the results of these consultations in Europe, we have not had any talks. And in fact, it was a bit difficult for me to do this. I have just arrived from China, and I am here. Well, we have no communication problems here. This is the first thing. Therefore, if some foreign troops appear in Ukraine, especially now, during the hostilities, we assume that these will be legitimate targets for destruction. And if the decisions that will lead to peace, to a long-term peace, are reached, then I simply do not see any point in their being in the territory of Ukraine.
Russian President Vladimir Putin declared on Friday that any Western troops deployed to Ukraine would be treated as legitimate military target by Moscow, intensifying warnings against deeper foreign involvement in the conflict. Russia is issuing warnings just as Ukraine seeks stronger commitment from allies. What then is the best timing for Ukraine at this critical time? This is the statement that Putin has made, and Ukraine is moving to the west, to NATO, and he's seeking stronger alliance. We see that Putin's remarks come a day after French President Emmanuel Macron announced that 26 countries had pledged to provide post-war security guarantees to Ukraine, including the potential deployment of an international force across land, sea, and air. Let's take a listen.
Today, 26 countries have formally agreed, and some others still have to confirm their position. 26 countries have agreed to deploy troops as security guarantees, troops in Ukraine, which will be present on the ground, at sea, and in the skies, to bring that reassurance to Ukraine the day after a ceasefire or peace deal.
Russia has long framed its invasion as preemptive move to block NATO expansion and the placement of allied forces in Ukraine. Putin argued that the presence of foreign troops during ongoing hostilities would directly escalate the war, while also positioning their necessity if peace agreements are eventually secured. Now we see that the statement underscores the Kremlin's consistent red lines. And Western military presence in Ukraine is seen not only as interference but as grounds for direct confrontation. But to what extent are Putin's threats credible? And how might they even influence Western calculations about long-term support for Ukraine? Xi Jinping's projects, global strength with parade and diplomatic bliss. Well, at the end of that, we are heading over to China, and this is what is happening in China with President Xi Jinping. We see that Chinese President Xi Jinping capped a week of high-profile diplomacy with a military parade in Beijing that underscored his central role in global politics and his grip on power at home. The 80th anniversary of the end of World War II provided a stage for Xi to stand alongside Russian President Vladimir Putin and North Korea's Kim Jong-un, signaling solidarity with leaders at odds with Washington. The spectacle, which included appearances by senior Communist Party officials and foreign dignitaries, marked a striking contrast to Xi's fourth such parade in 2015. That was when he was flagged by his predecessors in a display of continuity. While this osmose display of control, President Trump sits at the White House. As it was assumed, he would be watching. True to it, he was. Right there, he has made a statement. Let's take a listen.
Looking to when they did what they did, I thought it was a beautiful ceremony. I thought it was very, very impressive. But I understood the reason they were doing it, and they were hoping I was watching, and I was watching. My relationship with all of them is very good. We're going to find out how good it is over the next week or two. I think that we helped China very much, as you know, when they talk about freedom. And I don't believe that, and maybe I'm wrong, I hope I'm wrong, but I don't believe that America, that the United States was acknowledged for helping China to gain its freedom, but perhaps that was just a sleight of hand. I mean, I was very.
This latest show of authority comes amid slowing economic growth, rising unemployment, and questions about succession. Xi, now in his third term, has increasingly leaned on nationalism and foreign policy activism to consolidate his leadership. His tightly choreographed engagement in recent weeks, including a summit with India's Narendra Modi, meetings with Turkish President Tayyip Erdogan, and a rare visit to Tibet, have reinforced the image of a tireless statesman while diverting attention from domestic headwinds. Now we see that at Tiananmen Square, Xi, wearing a Mao-style grey suit that matched his graying hair, presented himself as both a modern leader and a custodian of China's revolutionary legacy. Analysts say the symbolism paired with his diplomatic stamina is designed to project strength and reassure both domestic and international audiences. The contrast with Premier Li Qiang was notable. Once seen as a rising technocrat, Li was relegated to lower-level meetings with leaders of Malaysia and Uzbekistan, while Xi's confidant Cai Qi handled more prominent engagement. This division of roles highlighted Xi's firm control over both the party hierarchy and China's foreign policy direction. Now, beyond symbolism, the parade reflected shifting geopolitical alignment. Many of the nations represented in Beijing have been targeted by U.S. tariffs this year under President Donald Trump, who has struggled to cut India as a counterweight to China and Russia. The image of Modi and Putin strolling hand in hand to confer with Xi underscored the divergence between Washington and India. We see that for Beijing, the diplomatic blitz is part of a broader strategy, presenting China as a stable partner to developing nations and positioning the Shanghai Cooperation Organization as a platform for alternatives to US-led institutions. The Shanghai Cooperation Organization, which now includes India, Pakistan, and Iran, is expanding its role beyond security into development finance, further advancing Beijing's influence in the global south. Still, challenges loom. China's foreign policy assertiveness continues to fuel friction over trade, territorial disputes, and industrial subsidies. Deep mistrust between Beijing and India is unlikely to be resolved by one meeting, while doubts remain over whether China's promises of partnership can match the economic opportunities many developing nations seek, especially at this time when tariffs are overboard. As Xi eyes as well a potential fourth term in 2027. His recent actions suggest he is determined to cement his legacy as China's most powerful leader since Mao Zedong. Still, can the strategy built on nationalism and diplomacy offset the pressures of a slowing economy and growing domestic discontent like what we see in China and even in the world since President Donald Trump came to power? But then, that's right there for China and the global news. Now taking you over to the home front. At the home front, Ambazonian president is set to address citizens ahead of Dunga Matung draft preparations. The president of the Federal Republic of Ambazonia, Dr. Samuel Ikome Sako, will host an extraordinary town hall meeting on Friday, September 5th at 8 p.m. Amba time, according to an announcement issued by the Department of Home Affairs. The 2-hour virtual gathering, open to all Ambazonians, will feature a special message from President Sako, followed by a question and answer session. Organizers emphasize that the meeting will begin promptly to allow preparations to continue for the Dunga Matung draft, scheduled for Saturday. Now let's take a listen.
Fellow Ambazonians, the Dunga Matung County is drafting this Saturday, the 6th of September 2025. I just want to reach out to the sons and daughters of Dunga Matung County, wherever you may be, at home and abroad. As far as you are still on the side of freedom for your people, I'm talking to your conscience. This message is for you. Do your best and be counted. Make the sacrifice necessary for the freedom of our people. Let it be said that when it mattered most and you were alive, you did something. I'm calling on you because some people feel like they're tired. It's not a time to be tired. It's not a time to be tired. If the enemy is tired, is showing signs of tiredness and disarray, that is the time you will say, oh God, renew my strength. That's the time for us to make the sacrifices. This freedom will come not by talkers, but by doers. This freedom will come not by what we just simple desire, but by real sacrifices. That is what will bring the freedom. Join the valiant forces resisting occupation on the ground and be counted with your sacrifice. I call on members of government at all levels, county, LGS, and the central government, and supporters of this freedom. Please let us put in our might to stop this genocide and take our country back. May our ancestors, may our heroes, past and present, may they count on you and me to deliver a free Ambazonian to our people. So thank you for coming. The time is 8 p.m. Ambazonia time, and all roads lead to Zoom. Share this invitation, give it to your friends, give it to everyone, Ambazonians and non-Ambazonians, anyone who want to help us to put a stop to this genocide. Let them be counted. God bless you.
A friendly reminder from the President. The Dunga Matung draft is regarded as a key framework in shaping the political and governance vision of Ambazonia. President Sako is expected to use the session to mobilize support, clarify strategies, and unify citizens ahead of the draft adoption process. A Zoom link for participation will be published later in the day, officials confirmed. Steve Nebafo, Secretary of State for the Department of Home Affairs, urged Ambazonians worldwide to attend, stressing the significance of the meeting for the future of the movement. Well, while we'll get to see you right there at the Zoom, we are heading over to Africa. In Africa, Burkina Faso bans LGBTQ practices in new family code law. Burkina Faso's transitional parliament has passed legislation outlawing activities deemed to promote LGBTQ practices, introducing fines, prison sentences, and possible deportation for non-citizens. The law, part of a revised Persons and Family Code, makes Burkina Faso the latest in a growing list of African countries to criminalize same-sex relations. It also introduces stricter rules on nationality and stateless persons. Passed unanimously by the 71-member unelected transitional parliament, the legislation now awaits the signature of junta leader Captain Ibrahim Traoré. Those convicted could face prison terms of 2 to 5 years, financial penalties, and deportation in cases involving foreign nationals. Authorities have framed the reform as an update to family law and nationality rules. However, human rights advocates are expected to condemn the crackdown on LGBTQ freedoms and the limitations imposed on legal recourse in nationality disputes. The move comes as the military government, which seized power in 2022, grows increasingly intolerant of dissent while struggling to contain Islamist insurgency that have destabilized the West African nation. Anti-gay legislation remains in force in many African states, including Uganda, Malawi, and Senegal. Others, such as South Africa, Botswana, and Angola, have taken steps to decriminalize same-sex relations or expand protections for LGBTQ communities. Now, this is what is happening right here in Africa. Burkina Faso has taken a stance. How about other African nations? While we rally around and we are hoping to see positive response from them, this is where we'll be drawing the curtain onto this flash news. Until next time, stay tuned for the town hall meeting with President Samuel Ikome Sako. I'm Tabitha Ako. Do have a pleasant day and stay safe.